Community starts with the man and the woman in the mirror. It starts with me and you. We are community. So the question we really have to ask ourselves is, how can me and you create a safe space and a safe world for people to just be themselves? The real psychologist is not there to heal you. We're not magicians. We're there to facilitate the journey. We're there to break that habitual patterns of thinking. Like, don't think that way. And if you do think like that way, it's fine. I will then help you reprogram your mind. The pharmaceutical and pharmacological industry and the media plays in the same agenda. We put out content that make people depressed. Netflix make very sure that we produce 13 episodes so that you sit in front of your TV binge watching because you're depressed. And then the pharmaceutical industry makes sure that we keep you depressed so that you can go back to your GP or your psychologist to go get the pain pills and the antidepressants. So we need to make sure that you are broken to keep the economy going.
Hello, beautiful people. I hope you doing good. Welcome back to another beautiful, inspiring episode of Salt Podcast. And today we are running our new concept called Give Back to Your Community. I think along the podcast, you guys will understand the reason why we chose this particular topic, and there will be more people that are going to come to the podcast and to speak about that. But today I have a privilege to have Mr. Abraham. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. It's really a privilege for me to have you on this podcast. Since the last time that I was like, okay, we're just planning exactly. and planning.
It was very, very difficult, but I'm very honored and I'm proud of you. Just witnessing your journey and the metamorphosis of your growth is beautiful. So I'm honored to be here. It took a while to come, but I'm here.
I think you being here, it's really worth it.
Thank you.
So the culture in Salt Podcasts would like you to introduce yourself. Can you please do?
I can. It's always difficult to introduce myself, but let me start with my name. So I am Abraham Peters, well known as AB to the broad public, which is basically just a nickname of Abraham. I am 29 years old. I am in the media industry. I'm a writer, producer, director, currently doing my master's at AFTA in Johannesburg, and I'm a PhD candidate. What else do you want to know about me? My father is Namibian, my mom South African, and I've always felt a sense of social responsibility towards both countries. Obviously, I reside in South Africa. That's who I am, and I really just have a passion for people and for community. That's why I'm not even surprised why I'm here today speaking about giving back, because it's so in alignment with what I do.
Awesome. I'm really happy that you are here and introducing yourself. I'm blown. I'm like, that's a lot of title. Those are a lot of hearts.
It is. Hard work. Yeah.
So, what comes in mind first when you hear that topic? Give back to your community. What comes in mind first?
Myself, to be very honest with you. I can't give what I don't have.
Okay.
So often we just want to give, but you can't give from an empty cup. So that's why it took a while for me to actually come onto your podcast, because we've been planning, but I had other priorities. I had other responsibilities. I had other, obligations that I had to attend to. So I needed to make sure that my cup or my tank was full in order to really sit here and give you everything from within me. Undivided attention, not having to think about anything else, and just give you myself and my full presence. So the first thing that comes to mind is myself. And most importantly, obviously, whatever it is that I do, whether it's even psychology or media, and I didn't even touch base on psychology, but we will get there. It is thinking about someone else. I think I did tell you the common thing as people, I work with human beings. So it's myself and then it's you. I can't think about anyone else apart from myself before I think about myself.
Wow, that's really awesome, because I've also noticed that in today's society, a lot of people don't really give back to the community because they've never received from the community, or they just don't understand the impact of them giving back to the community.
Yeah.
What makes you think that you need to give back to the community?
I think that is the most important thing. This thing called life is a group assignment. I think that is the beautiful thing of gratitude, doing something for someone without expecting anything back.
Wow.
So I think also if you look at the high rate of unhappiness in our society, the reason why people are so unhappy is not because they don't like their jobs or whatever. It's because they can't think of anyone else apart from themselves.
Wow.
So always try to extend yourself beyond yourself. So the reason why people have this entitlement of, oh, community is not giving back to me. Look, I can't speak for anyone else, but you can't be fulfilled if you don't give. If you look at the word forgiveness, break it down. In order to give, you can't receive. That is how I look at forgiveness. Give in order to receive. So that's why I'm so blessed. Not blessed financially to say, but blessed just in terms of I can pick up the phone now and call anyone for a favor, and they would say yes. 99.9% the answer will be yes, because I've built relationships over the years. And it's not a thing of, oh, you did this for me, so I am obliged to do this for you as well. So I'm not, whether society has done it for me or not, I will still give back, because we can't blame society. You know, all society, some society members don't have the resources to give. So I operate from a standpoint of, you know, God has planted in me everything that I need. So I will always give time, give money, give whatever it is that I can give. It doesn't have to be money. It can even be like just being a good friend, being a good brother, being a good partner, being a good colleague. But giving is always part of the curriculum of my life.
That's really top. And since I've been promoting this upcoming concept, give back to your community, and I spoke to a lot of people. Some are not really willing to come and speak because they don't want to be on camera and talk to people. But they say like they can only send questions. You know, because this is what we face in our daily, because we are part of the community. And there's a lot of things that goes on within the community that people are really battling with, and people are victim of the community. But I have this question here that come from a friend that also has been a lot, you know, and he just decided to send out this question. And I assume that you are maybe the right person to give us a good answer.
I hope so. I hope so.
The question is, what role does mental health play in fostering a strong sense of community? And how can we promote it as part of community building efforts?
The role of mental health in community.
Yes.
First and foremost, we have to define what mental health is. We all have mental health. We just don't all have mental wellness. So what we can start doing is start speaking about it. And it starts with your friend. Let him be the change that he want to see in society. It might not be AB. It's not going to be a podcast or reading anything from a newspaper or Oprah Winfrey or Dr. Phil. It will be him. He's the answer to the problem that he's basically looking or, you know, trying to find a solution to. Because at the end of the day, mental health, there's a lot of misconceptions around mental health. There's a lot of health illiteracy. People speak about mental health as if it's like an illness, but people don't understand that we all have mental health, just like we all have physical health. We just don't all have physical wellness. We are all everyone in this room has physical health, but we don't all have cancer.
Yeah.
So you get what I'm trying to say. We all have mental health, but we don't all have schizophrenia or bipolar. So he needs to start speaking about it. He needs to start advocating. And also very important, don't unleash his pain onto other people, but speak from his lived experience. What is it that he really wants society to stand in agreement with him? Why should AB stand in agreement with him? What is his fight that he's fighting for? Because we are losing a generation of young people, when it comes to suicide. But we all face different problems. There's someone sitting in China that has lost a mother, and there's someone sitting in Limpopo who's lost a mother. The common denominator is we all face pain, and we are all human beings. So my question to him would be, what is his fight that he wants to fight, and how can we join him with that mission?
Okay. So we need first of all to understand what is his fight.
Exactly. What is his mission, and how can we join him? And most importantly, it starts with him. Because whatever questions it is that people have, believe me, they always have the answers to their own questions.
Yeah.
People would walk into therapy and be like, my husband is abusing me. And then my question is, why are you in the relationship?
Okay, so how can community create a safe place where people can voice out? Let's say someone, because in today's world, if we can analyze or see the number of young people who are actually committing suicide, the number is really high.
Yeah.
How can community can create a place to support young people?
Again, community starts with the man and the woman in the mirror.
Okay.
It starts with me and you. We are community. So the question we really have to ask ourselves is, how can me and you create a safe space and a safe world for people to just be themselves, for people to just show up, whatever it is that they intend to be in this world. Instead of holding community and other people accountable, how about we look in the mirror and be like, okay, I'm community. How can I create a safe space? That is my short answer to that question. Because again, community is 1,000, it's like 8 billion people on this planet. So I can't direct people and be like, or command them like, this is what community needs to do. No, all I can do, and the only power I have, is me. Okay. And the man and the woman in the mirror.
Okay, that's all. And how do you create that safe place to support the community?
Me personally?
Yeah, personally. Because let's be practical about it.
Let's be practical.
Because I always tell myself, I'm responsible of what I say.
So true.
But I might be accountable of how people understand me. You see, and always, if someone is trying to misunderstand something that I said, I always tell the person, I'm not responsible of how you take it.
So true.
I'm accountable because I said it, but you are responsible of how you receive it.
So true. So true. You're only responsible for the words that come out of your mouth. But how I perceive it, it's on me. But to answer your question, how do I create, a safe space? I never try to create a safe space. I try to be a safe space. Okay. Like right now, I'm a safe space for you. There's no wall. There is no facade. I am just me. I trust you with my story, and I trust you with my pain. And a lot of people always try to create safe spaces physically, like a physical sanctuary, to be like, okay, the office looks neat, there's a couch there, or just whatever it is. But how about you are a safe space? So let me put that in practical sense. I show up without, if you had to come to me with pain or an issue, I listen to you without judgment. I listen to you without having to understand your story. If you tell me, AB, I have a wife, yet I'm cheating, it's not for me to understand. It's not for me really to understand, because so many people want to understand and then they support. But if they don't understand your pain, they question you. Like, but why are you doing that? Why? But I didn't come to you to be judged. I came to you to vent. So that's what I mean by
venting.
Yes, I just want to be that venting board for you without having to say anything, giving unsolicited advice to people. No, I just listen without being judgmental. And it's so difficult for people in today's world to just listen without judging. And that is what I'm trying to do every day.
But is it easy for you just to perceive something, like I come to him like, no, Abby, this is what I'm going through and this. Let's make it practical. I'm like, I think that sometime it's tough
not to judge
as human to be in a position like I'm just listening, I'm not judging. And I understand that a lot of us are not really vulnerable, because we just think like human are not safe. It's not safe for me to speak to someone else because the person gonna judge me.
So true.
And you really elaborate on that, because the last time I went to a yoga session called Broga.
Yeah.
Yoga for Bros.
Yes. Yoga for Bros.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
And I was really empowered, like, honestly.
Yeah.
Even though most people have misconception of yoga, but let's also see the good side of it. What role that does it play in our mental health or
Definitely.
in our journey in life?
Definitely, yeah.
We were speaking about how community make men looks like. I was raised in a community where men don't cry.
Yep.
Where men don't voice up.
Yeah.
Men need to stay strong.
Yes.
Why we are not.
Yes.
Like men are not emotional. And some people say women are emotional. And
like we are different
and
aliens.
men are radical. What is your point on that?
First, you mentioned a few things. You said it's very tough. Let's be practical. You said let's be practical. It's very tough to just listen without being judgmental. The reason why it's tough for a lot of people to listen is because listening is a skill.
Okay.
Have you noticed I listen a lot when you speak? I don't interject. So I pick up on words. You said it's very tough to listen. It will be tough to listen because listening is a skill. And not a lot of people master listening. That's the first thing. So I listen. That's why it comes so easy for me to, over the years, obviously as someone who studied psychology, over the years I have, and obviously in the beginning I used to judge people like, oh my word, why would you even do something like that? Why would you cut yourself? Why would you want to commit suicide? Why would you want to do X, Y, and Z? And over the years I have grown accustomed to the fact that my role as therapist is not to fix the person in front of me, is to facilitate their journey.
All right.
That was the first thing. The other thing in terms of how society react to men, I would say is because, first and foremost, what you said there is so true, especially in the Black culture.
Yeah.
Especially in the Black culture that we're taught men don't cry, men needs to be strong and all of that. And that's why the suicide rate for men is so high. But your question in terms of, is it how society treats men? Is that your question?
Yeah.
I don't have the answer to it because, to be very honest with you, what we are trying to do as therapists and people who have studied the craft right now is create safe spaces for a lot of men to start speaking about their pain, but yet there is still a lot of ridicule from society and community on men that is a bit too feminine, and then masculinity gets questioned. But at the end of the day, I think it's very important that as men, because we become the community, we really need to start speaking. Because the reason why is we are suppressing a lot of our own emotions just for the sake of standing in that role of masculinity.
Okay.
But what does that do to our emotions? What does that do to our feelings? By being strong for a family, by being the blanket of the family. But who's there for the hero? Who's there to stand up for the hero? So again, similar to my previous answers, as men, we just have to continue to speak about our pain, to continue to speak about our issues because they are as real as our female counterparts. I mean, we were given tears as well, so why can't we use it? It's almost like we are aliens, like we are different species. So what we do is we go out with our friends, we go for a beer or whatever, or we sex away our pain. That's how we deal with it. But I think conversations like this, safe spaces that the South African Depression and Anxiety Group is trying to create across South Africa, those are groups that I do think might just help along the way.
Okay. And another guy also sent me another question because most of the questions I picked them up from the brokers group.
Yeah.
So this person say, from a psychological perspective, how do strong social connection within communities contribute to collective well-being?
Amazingly, because I mean, if you have a strong community, you'll have people who come from that community with proper mental wellness and healthy mental health. Because if you have a broken community, you will have a broken society. It happens, there are cases where people come from amazing communities and they turned out bad. And then you have people who come from where I come from, really like, I won't say a broken community, but surrounded with alcohol and drugs, and yet I turned out the opposite. Because so often your environment can teach you who you don't want to be. And then sometimes you come from a perfectly well community and yet still turn out bad. So again, that answer is quite, my answer will always be subjective because at the end of the day, it all depends on the individual. It really all depends on the individual. But a healthy environment, a healthy community will definitely most always, not, let me say 70% produce someone with good mental wellness.
Okay, can you please tell us a bit of, because now that you touch on the community side and say like it depends on where you're from, how you were raised, and where you're going. Because a lot of us right now are also copying stuff from the community. Let's say like I'm from a good household, but people that I'm exposed to are not from what, they didn't really, like we don't have the same values.
Exactly.
We don't have the same principle.
Exactly.
And I end up breaking my principle because I want them to feel good.
And you want to fit in as well.
You see, and I want to fit in. And for me, it's more of acceptance and also about killing your own identity because you want to fit into a certain group of people.
Yeah.
Can you please tell us about how was your community? How is the community that you came from?
Funny enough, I don't speak about my personal life very often because I just feel that, as someone who's in the media industry, that I'm always speaking about myself and my family, and I think sometimes it's wrong because it's my family that should share their own privacy. But I'll speak about obviously my narrative in this case. Yes, I as I've mentioned, I was always surrounded by alcohol and drugs and stuff like that. Surrounded to this day, I don't drink or smoke and never have in my entire life. But I think the beauty of it all was because I'm such an academic and I read a lot, I have decided to, and not only that, let me give my parents some credit as well because my parents are just an amazing blueprint to have. I have an amazing father who's an entrepreneur. I had a mom that worked in retail and all of that. But my mom had a drinking problem.
Okay.
So my father traveled a lot. So there was a lot of unstableness. But how I came to where I am today, just to kind of fast forward the answer, is because I had a dream and I had aspirations and I had an expectation for myself. And looking back even at my childhood, I wouldn't have changed it for anything because that made me who I am today. There might have been a possibility if I grew up with everything like a silver platter, I might have been laid back and be like, okay, you know what? My parents are rich. Why should I be driven or ambitious? But because of some of the lack and the loopholes within my upbringing, it helped me to get to where I am today. It allowed me to bounce out of bed because I had a dream. I wanted to push. I had ambition. I had drive. I wanted to be totally different from the environment and the friends that I was exposed to who were smoking from the age of 15 and drinking, at the age of 17, 16, 17 years old. That was just not me. So all of that helped me to become the person that I am today. It really is like a lesson, I always say. And these are lessons that God would want you to learn. And a lesson is not always like comes with warm milk and cookies. A lesson sometimes comes with a lot of thorns that could stick as well. And I think that's the golden thread. That's the important part of learning. You don't learn from things that go smooth. Because yes, it went amazing, but you learn from the darkness.
Yeah.
And all of that.
You're right. So how do you feel now when you see all those people that you grew up with, when you see the community that you're coming from, being in the place that it is right now? Do you feel bad about it, or do you feel proud of that community? Because you said that you had friend that was alcoholic and drugs addictive and all those ones. So as long as you were also kept from that community and you didn't copy from what they were doing, that's really good. Yeah. And I'm really, I'm blown when I just heard you speaking about that. But how do you feel of the same community in nowadays?
I'm okay. I don't feel bad. I don't feel like a pity party, or any of that, because at the end of the day, really, whatever I'm doing right now is always to go back to that community and to give back, whether it's having workshops or theater shows or whatever, but always giving back, uplifting the community. I think it's the one thing my father taught me. Giving back is very important. It's one of the things that I've learned from him, because being socially active in this world, I've learned that there's no age attached to it. But I don't feel bad. Sometimes when you do come across friends that you've grew up with and you see where they've ended up in life, you like, you do feel a sense of like, bad or sad. But in terms of my community, there's nothing that I would have changed. Obviously, there is a lot that I want to change right now, but that community has shaped me into the person I am today. And now my responsibility as an adult is to give back. My responsibility as an adult is to look at the word responsibility, which means I have an ability to respond to the problem.
Wow. Responsibility, having ability to respond to the problem. I've never known that.
Yes. So as a child, I never had a responsibility. As a child, the only responsibility I had was to be a child, and now I have that accountability. I need to take accountability for my actions, and I need to take responsibility for the things that I do, for the choices that I make in life. And really, the core of what I do is always giving back, and my community will always be a priority.
And you said you learn from your father to give back.
I've learned from my father to give back. Yeah.
And why is it so important to give back? And when did you understand the importance of giving back? Funny enough, my father always tells me that I was always the one that was an empath. I care for people. I was the child that was satisfied with anything. You can buy me anything. It doesn't have to be a branded shirt. I will always be content with it. So I was probably just born with this trait. And I think studying psychology and media, it kind of enhanced that personality of, I love people. Psychology enhanced the love for me in terms of, I would love to care and I would love to be a public servant, to people. But I've always been someone who
who cares. I've always been an empath. And to this day, I think it's of utmost importance that, giving back as what fulfills me. Being here today, apart from whatever happened this morning at work, whether I have delivered my things on time, but just giving back and being here on this podcast is actually, the center of, or the cherry on top in terms of my Monday, to be very honest with you, because there's a fulfillment of, wow, I'm supporting a friend. Wow, I am contributing to a dream. I'm contributing to an idea that he had, and obviously coming together. There is a sense of just feeling gratitude for doing something to someone or for someone. So giving back, I'm marinated in it. If you can't give, you will never receive. I might walk out here and I might receive like, listen, you don't have to come to work tomorrow. As simple as that. And I'll be very happy. But I just believe in giving.
When you speaking about it, I remember a day I was speaking with a friend, and he said something really powerful that stick on me. And even my pastor said it's like few months after. He said like, don't give and expecting to receive back. Give because it's good to give.
Yeah, it is. It is good to give. And I never do anything with any expectation. Never. So I always give, but it's very important for me to give from a full cup.
Yeah.
I just don't want to serve from an empty cup. I want to make sure my spiritual library is full. I want to make sure my emotional library is full. I want to make sure my mental library is full. That's the only way I'll be able to be a public servant to the highest possibility of the word.
You're really right about it. And I always tell myself, like when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I don't have any expectation on anyone, because if I do, I will be disappointed.
Yep, it creates misery. If you expect anything, it creates misery. Yeah,
and I don't want to be disappointed by anyone. And when I'm doing something for anyone, I don't ever expect anything back, because from the time I don't have what I'm expecting to have back, it's changed my perspective of how I have to give.
Yep.
See, and give. So the lesson that I'm learning with Abby now is give without expectation.
Give without
expectation.
Give
because it's good to give.
Yeah.
Because if you expect, you will stop giving, because you feel like, no, it's not worth it to give, because I'm not receiving anything back from what I'm giving. So now I wanted a bit to speak about your transitioning journey from being in Namibia and being in South Africa, knowing that it's different community. Now you need to fit into this community. How was that journey for you?
It wasn't very different. Because there's a lot of parallels between Namibia and South Africa. Remember, Namibia was part of South Africa years ago.
I've never known.
Namibia was called Southwest Africa.
Okay.
And then it became independent. And then it became Namibia.
Okay.
So there's a lot of parallels between Namibia and South Africa. We speak Afrikaans in Namibia. We speak Afrikaans in South Africa.
Wow.
There's a lot of cultures and tribes in Namibia that we have in South Africa. So there wasn't really much of a difference. So I can't think of any nuances at the moment.
Yeah, but for me personally, it was really different from the community where I was from.
Yeah.
And this community here. Back home, we have that, it's just different, because I'm not from the big town, I'm from the hood. I'm not from the big city. I'm not from the big city of Congo. So where I'm from, people really care. There's that sense of community. It's like there's something happened when I went to Durban. I felt more home. Because I felt that sense of community. And in Johannesburg, people are a bit business-minded.
Are you looking always for a community?
Me, when I'm saying that looking for a community, right now I don't look for a community anymore because I'm creating a community and not a community that I come from, but a changed community. Even creating this podcast is a way that I'm giving back to my community.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I want people to be empowered.
Yeah.
Empowerment equals change.
So true.
And people need to understand why they need to change by bringing people like you to the show, talking and discussing. I was running a concept called A Woman Perspective. I just ran that concept for 4 months.
Wow.
And I was really empowered by a woman.
Wow.
You see, and for me, it was a way for me to give back to my community. But there's some conversation that I was having with people. I'm like, I wish people can hear it.
Wow.
Because it can change lives. Because even me being the person that I am today, because I decided to empower myself by reading books, by actually people that I'm surrounding myself with. Because I know that for you, it was easy. It was not easy to copy from the community.
Yeah.
But we are different beings.
We are, and we navigate life very differently.
Definitely. And it might be easy for me to copy from the community or to be easygoing. I'm like, okay, I need to do this because people are doing that.
Yes.
But when I come back to the reason, I'm like, no. When I look at my principle, when I look from where I come from, there's a saying in French, but I will say it in English. They say, there's people that count on their father, and there's fathers that count on their kid.
Yes.
So I might be the one that people count on because I lost my dad last year, which was not an easy experience for me because he passed away at home and I was decided and I didn't get a chance to go back there. And I have a whole family now that really counts on me. I'm like, okay, my mom, she counts on me now. I don't count on her in terms of her helping me with this. Because now she's the one that needs support. Now she's the one that needs attention. She's the one that needs people just to be there for her, to hear, to understand her and not judging her.
Of course.
And
of course.
I'm not allowing myself to do certain things because I know that how will my mom feel when she will hear that? What will be the impact of my doings on her? When I think of all those stuff, I'm like, no, maybe it's not what I need to do now. I need to focus myself on actually productive
Being
stuff.
productive. But I wanted to ask you this. Sorry that I'm not becoming the interviewer. But is it keeping you away from also just experiencing a life? Or do you feel you always have to be perfect?
That's if I say yes, I'm gonna lie, and it will be the biggest mistake that I will do in life to try to be perfect.
Exactly.
I'm not trying to be perfect, but I'm just trying to do what I have to do.
What you feel is right.
I'm like, what I feel it's right to do. And that's what I'm doing. Because for me, caring about my mom is the right thing that I have to do. But I don't have to prove her that I'm perfect. Because till now, I was not, when my dad was alive, I really didn't experience life much because I made a lot of mistakes. Because I just tried to prove my dad that I'm what he was thinking I am.
Wow. So you were living up to an idea.
Exactly. I'm like, if my father thinks that I'm this kind of person, I don't want to break it.
Wow.
I don't want him to be disappointed. And I want to be that person. And I end up being fake.
Of course.
Because I was now creating two personalities. I'm like, this is the persona that I'm showing my father, and this is me in the other side. And it didn't really help me. And a lot of us as young people are living like that.
And it's in alignment with masculinity as well.
Exactly.
Having to suppress our emotions, having to suppress who we really are. I mean, just breaking down and cry would be like, you're a man. Why would you do that? Stand up for yourself, grow a backbone. So I totally relate.
And there is another question for you. Because today, I wanted this to be a talk.
Yes, a conversation.
A conversation.
Yes.
But now I'm throwing questions on you.
Sorry, and I'm also asking you questions.
You okay? Yeah. And this question is, what strategy would you recommend to foster empathy and compassion in individuals who are disconnected from their community?
Okay. So I'll emphasize this one again. It starts with you. It starts with you as an individual. Look in the mirror, and that person staring back at you, start with him or with her. That's how you foster empathy. You are the community. There's a beautiful saying that says that you don't look for love. Love cannot be looked for. When you find someone that you really love, all that person will do is either they will enhance the love within you, or there's trauma bonds. You guys will either make each other feel sad, or you will enhance the love within each other. So it's the same with community. If you want a community that would foster empathy and love, why don't you be that community? Then you start bleeding onto the communities, and it has a ripple effect. You plant those seeds of empathy and love. You be the change that you want to see. That is my simple answer to that person's question.
So the person needs to be the change that he wants to see.
Exactly.
That's the first part of the question. And that is the answer that we have. So, my guy, be the change that you want to see. If you are not that change, they will never be that change.
Exactly.
Secondly, the second part of the question is, who may not see the value of giving back?
It's very difficult because there's a lot of people who don't see the value of not giving back, and it's fine because it just shows that healing still needs to take place.
Okay.
This thing called life is a group assignment. You can't without the other. So my advice to the person who's struggling or who don't see the value in giving back, my advice would just be, it's okay. Marinate within that.
Now I feel like you just don't want to judge.
No. Because you see, the moment I start judging, it's counterintuitive to what I told you earlier.
Definitely.
So even I don't even have a problem with people who are depressed, to be very honest with you.
Right.
I never speak someone out of depression.
All right.
So I will not speak someone out of not seeing the value for forgiveness, because the moment I start speaking them out of it by motivating them or giving them advice and trying to see it from our perspective, because remember, it took the two of us a while to get to this perspective. So let's allow them to get to that point on their own time, rhythm, and pace. We don't want to fast forward the curriculum that God has for them.
You are very right. So now let's speak a bit of your journey. You know. Now I'm touching on you.
Joining what?
Let's speak a bit of your journey in psychology.
Okay.
How did it start? Were you passionate about that? Because me now, I want to do law, business law in the future, maybe within the next few years.
Yes.
Why I want to do business law? Because I've never worked for someone. I work with people. I don't work for people. I work with people.
That's powerful.
And the reason why I want to do business law is because most of people are taking advantage of people that they employ. Because I know that people work for 8 hours. Now there's other people that make us work for 9 hours or 10 hours, but still pay you the same amount of money just because of the lack of knowledge. Because you don't know that how can I call it? Like the law of business said people work for 8 business hours, which can be from 7 to 5, which is 8 hours. And on top of that, they need to be extra charges.
Yes.
Because it's extra time.
Bonuses.
They need to pay you extra monies. But a lot of people are taking advantage of people. And now, even within the workplace, you can see they come to you, they make you do stuff because they think like you don't have the correct documentation to work there. And now they say, if you don't do this, you will be just away.
Yeah.
Because you want money, because you want this work, because you tell yourself like, okay, if I do this, I will be able to live, to afford my rent and all the living cost. And now you are taking all those situations in because you are desperate. You see?
Yeah.
So now
that's your motivation.
Yeah, that is my motivation why I have to do business law. Wow. What was your motivation?
Mine was to understand myself. I didn't study psychology to become a psychologist, so I'm not a psychologist.
Okay.
I only studied psychology, and it was to understand my pain. I suffered from chronic depression. I tried to commit suicide twice.
Wow.
So it was really to give my pain a voice, to explain to people that yes, you can work for one of the best companies in South Africa. You can have a dream come true career and a dream come true job. But I never had a dream come true life, and it was psychology helped me to really, really open up my emotional library and tap into it and explain to people that, listen, you are not your job. Who is AB if you remove the title of executive producer, writer, director, psychologist, PhD candidate? Who are you? I had to answer that question for myself. So it was a lot of introspection that I had to do, but that was my why. My why was, let me study psychology to understand myself.
Have you felt comfortable to speak about what really happened for you to commit suicide?
Yeah, look, I'm comfortable speaking about it, and I think, and I'm without going into the discrepancies and the intricate details of it, because we don't know if some of the viewers might have the mental capacity to receive this. But I think suicide is not about wanting to die. It's just you don't find any other option, and then the only option you find is, let me go into this world of no return called death. But it's a thing of lack of options available.
Okay.
And that's why I think your topic is so important, because community, a sense of support, a sense of resources out there that people might have. I just believe that I was the only one who was going through trauma. Trauma of whether it's childhood trauma that I dealt with. And obviously this happened while I was working. So it's not the work that was the problem. It was the trauma that I never had an opportunity to deal with. So like we all have childhood trauma. So my story might not even be that unique, to be very honest with you.
Yeah.
It's what I told you. It's like growing up with alcohol, not with alcohol, but surrounded by, broken, not broken families, but just a broken environment. So it's really as simple as that. I think when people hear about suicide, they think of the most worst thing that could happen. But no, suicide could be like debit orders going off and you don't have the money for it.
Wow.
Yeah. Suicide could be debit orders going off and your children don't have any food to eat. It's really not that deep. So that was me. It was just really childhood trauma that I had to deal with.
How do you describe a broken environment?
A broken environment can also look very different, but for me it was, not having both parents available. For me it was having to grow up very quickly. Not having to have a normal childhood. Like, even to this day, I don't like playing. I don't like games.
Wow. Why?
Because of how I was molded, how I grew up. I had to grow up. So I'm like almost an adult. Okay. I'm like, my father calls me, I'm a 70-year-old man. My father is like much more fun than me. I am very serious, but yet kind. But my fun is, let's go to a restaurant and have dinner. But I don't like games. I don't like sports. I'm a workaholic. I like to build. I like to dream. I like to create a nation. But So I've always been like that. And I think my environment kind of made me that way. Losing a mom at a very young age, I had to grow up very quick. And that also meant that I had to put my aspirations at the bottom of my priority list. I had to think about everyone in front of me before I thought about myself.
Because I was even about to ask you that question, because when you spoke about your father, your verb was in the present. And when you spoke about your mom, it was in the past.
Yes.
Your mom had.
Yes.
How did you deal with the loss of your mom in a very young age?
I didn't deal because you can't deal. It's very hard to deal with death at a young age, being 13 and 14. You don't understand it. So you can't grieve like anyone else. And what I did was I just bottled it and it became trauma.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't avoid the pain, but you postponed the process.
I did without knowing, because children don't know how to deal with it. You get what I'm trying to say? It's like without knowing. So even to this day, I'm dealing with it.
So when was it first when you acknowledge it? Let's be in the acknowledgement of it. How did you acknowledge that I'm going through this because of a situation that happened in few past years? How did you acknowledge that, and how did you start by dealing with it when you?
So before you can acknowledge something, you first have to be aware of it.
Okay.
It's like a doctor would first assess you, and then it will diagnose you, and then they will prescribe the medication to you. So at first, obviously with the suicide thing, I had to assess like what was going on. And then I was diagnosed with bipolar and chronic depression. And then being aware of all of these issues, I took action, I acknowledged. And with acknowledgement comes action. It's like having a flu. The moment you have a running nose, you like, give me a tissue. You know that there's something going on. So that is what happened to me. And realizing that there was a broken gap and where the bleeding was coming from, I could attend to the bleed. But to answer your question, I am still to this day dealing with it. With graduation, like what would my mom said, thinking about my mom, having a premiere of a movie and just any kind of thing that must be a celebratory experience, I don't feel happy. There's a sense of happiness, but there's also a sense of, I just wish that they were here to see it. But I think with the therapy journey that I've been through, because also studying psychology, I also had to work on myself in order to counsel someone. I had to be very strong in order to stand in the gap for the person in front of me. So I had to do a lot of healing, but healing is not a once-off thing. Healing is a journey, and I think I will be healed one day once I'm in my casket. That's the only time you'll be healed.
So that's really interesting, because now that you're speaking about it, I'm thinking about the rehabilitations, because someone said a leader who are bleeding end up bleeding on people that is leading. And you wanted to heal before leading because you don't want to bleed on people. And
I didn't want it to bleed on people who didn't cut me.
Yeah,
You see, there's a huge distinction between the two. So often we bleed on, especially I see it in relationships. You leave your ex and then you bleed on the next person.
You leave your ex and bleed on the next.
Why don't you heal that wound and not bleed on the next?
Because people think like they can't heal by themselves. Like they need people to heal. There's even someone said like, time gonna heal you. I'm like, time, and it was something of like, we heal with time.
We heal with time, but it's also what you do with the time. It's what you do with the time. Right now, we are doing something with our time, which is having a very nice, productive conversation. Imagine if we were like, no, time will conclude this conversation. So then we will just sit here and be like, okay, buddy, what's the time now? Is the conversation over? So no, it's what you do with that time. And that is what a lot of people don't realize. It's not time will do the healing, because time is immortal. Time doesn't even exist. Someone came up with this thing called time. Time is immortal. There's no ending to time. So it's what you do with the time that you have that will really make a difference. Because what people do in a week, I can do in the morning, to be very honest with you.
You will right. And even I said, I started podcast like 1 year from now. But someone can just start a podcast now and have 1 million views on YouTube.
Yes,
it's not time that give him those million views.
It's what they did with the same 24 hours that you also have. So no one would be able to heal you. And it's what I always say, a real therapist, a real psychologist is not there to heal you. We're not magicians. We're there to facilitate the journey. We're there to break that habitual patterns of thinking. Like, don't think that way. And if you do think like that way, it's fine. I will then help you reprogram your mind. But I'm not going to help you heal. That is a hand bigger than mine, and I call that hand God. I don't have the power to heal you. But I'm going to be God's surrogate. I'm going to be God's vessel and allow God to work through me to work with you.
That's really powerful, that touching the godly side of it. My last question now before we close the session.
Yes.
And
this is becoming so nice. I don't want to close it.
Yeah. And I open this bracket. How does your work in media intersect with your psychologist journey or your therapy studies?
There's no difference. People think there is a difference. There's no difference. The common denominator is, with psychology, I was working with people. In media, we are nothing without people. Famous people have no one if they don't have people to make them famous. We have no one if we don't have actors to play in our stories. We need human beings. So the common denominator is people. There's no difference. The common denominator is communication. There's no difference. So when people ask me, what do I do when I don't have the time to go into my titles, I just say I'm a communication expert.
Wow.
That's all. That is what I do. So there's no difference between psychology and media. Obviously, there are intricate details and discrepancies in terms of, the one deals with the pharmaceutical and the pharmacological industry, and the one deals with media. But funny enough, the pharmaceutical and pharmacological industry and the media plays in the same agenda. We put out content that make people depressed. Netflix make very sure that we produce 13 episodes so that you sit in front of your TV binge watching because you're depressed. And then the pharmaceutical industry makes sure that we keep you depressed so that you can go back to your GP or your psychologist to go get the pain pills and the antidepressants. So we need to make sure that you are broken to keep the economy going.
Wow. So that's what you guys do. So you're killing the community.
So you see, and funny enough, I don't like the two industries that I'm in. I'm very passionate about people, but not really media and psychology. That's why I freelance.
Wow.
Maybe I should become a pastor. Yeah. But yeah, that's the common differences.
That was really powerful. And which title can you give to this specific episode?
Which title?
Just summarizing our 1 hour show. I know that you couldn't even imagine that it's an hour already, because we started at the exact same time.
Wow. The power of community.
The power of community.
Yes.
I like that.
The power of community.
I really like that title. And this is going to be the title of this video. The power of community. And people, please comment if you guys don't agree with anything that we spoke about.
Yes.
Comment. And if you want to be next, the place is there. Today is Abby. Tomorrow might be you.
Yes.
If you feel like you have something to give back to this community, I know that you are over 1 million who are watching this podcast. Not really yet, but yeah, you will get there. Over 1 million people who are going to watch this episode. If you think that you are an active actor of the community. You are active member of the community. You are pillar of change. Come, let's have a conversation. Let's talk. Let discuss.
Exactly.
What do you think of that?
I do think it's very important because every single thing starts with storytelling. It starts with a conversation, and conversations starts with one-on-one with people in the room. You know, it's like going back to the fireside chats, you know, people around the fire having conversations. So I totally agree with you. If anyone feels that they deserve to be in this spot, please make your way.
So what's going to be your call out?
My call out would be that remember that you are the answer to your problem. And if you want to see change, look in the mirror. It begins and it ends with you. Because we were all born looking like our parents, but we will die looking like our choices.
That's really right. And me, I see life as a camera. Since I've been into this industry, I see life as a camera.
Exactly.
I always, whenever I'm shooting, I always use manual. And using manual because I'm in charge of everything. Thinking like, okay, I want this picture to look like this. So I want my ISO to be lower. I want my shutter speeds to be like this, and I want this aperture to be open in this way. Because I want this picture to have a blurriness. I want this to be like this. And that's how I see life. I see life as a camera in manual. I'm in charge of everything that is happening. I'm not going to blame the person who will edit the picture if it's not nice.
Exactly.
I will blame myself because I didn't get my angle right.
Exactly.
And my setting was not right.
Exactly.
I blame myself, and I look for the way forward to change my settings next time I'm shooting.
Can I share another secret with you?
Yes.
I see my life as a movie.
All right.
So it's a similar thing that we have because just like you, I see myself as the lead character in my own story, and I see everyone else as supporting characters or extras. And if you piss me off, you might even become an extra and not even a supporting character. So I love that analogy. I also see my life as a movie, and I always remember and remind myself that the pen is always in my hand. And there's no one qualified to direct the story apart from God.
Wow. Thank you so much, Hebi, for being that first guest into this concept.
Thank you,
So
buddy.
people, I think you guys are going to enjoy this episode, but don't forget to subscribe. You know, subscribing is free. You don't pay anything to subscribe. Just show some love. Subscribe and comment if you feel like it and like. Thank you so much.